scriptural. The throne room of God is also it's considered the courts of heaven. And I like that idea because, see, the courts, to me, one of the main things that I've gotten out of what I've studied about the courts of heaven that I like a lot is it's all about, when you think of the throne room being like a courtroom, you start thinking in legal terms. And see, I have a chapter in here, one chapter in this book before the chapter on the courts of heaven. Let me tell you what that chapter is. It's called The Power of Your Divine Rights. And one thing I like about understanding some things about the courts of heaven is that it gave me a greater revelation and reality that everything in the spirit realm is legally based. I don't mean Jewish laws now. Everything's legally based. And I teach a lot on spiritual laws and forces in God's kingdom, how we need to learn how to function in God's spiritual laws and forces. Everything is legally based. And if you can learn how to work the spiritual laws and forces of God's kingdom, then you're going to have great success. And that's why I like thinking of the throne room as a courtroom. Because the Bible teaches that. You know, the Bible calls Jesus, our advocate. That's what an attorney is. The devil's the accuser. That's what a prosecutor is. He's the judge of everybody, of all creation. He's called the Ancient of Days. But you think about an attorney. I like to say I say it this way in my book. Attorneys, before they go into a courtroom to present their case to the judge, they do a lot of studying, don't they? Because they know that if it's an honest, fair judge, that judge in a natural courtroom setting on the earth today, that judge, if he's a fair and honest judge, he's only going to rule and make verdicts based on what the law says. Even if his own child is in the court that did something wrong. If he's a fair judge, he's still going to do what the law says. In other words, everything is legally based in a natural courtroom setting, isn't it? So the attorney and the prosecutor come in, and they have to present their case. It's got to be legal. They can't just come in and say, hey, judge, I just wish you'd do this for me as a favor. No, that means nothing to the judge. He's going to say, what evidence do you have so I can legally pronounce this verdict? Well, that's really the way God's throne room is. That's what happened at Calvary. Jesus had to fulfill certain, specific laws. For example, one reason, really two reasons why Jesus had to shed his blood through death. The first reason is because, we died in Adam, didn't we? Remember Romans 6:23, for the wages of sin is death?